Welcome to Dialed In for Movies. I am Henry Confidential, and it is time to do my top 10 movies of 2017. 2017 has been a pretty good year. It's actually probably been one of my favorite years in recent memories, and that's because I've seen a lot of movies that aren't necessarily the blockbusters. Let me start off by saying that this is my personal list. These are movies that I love, these are movies that I rewatch, and these are movies that I enjoy thoroughly. I own most of them in the background, as you can see. So 2017, time to start talking about you. At number 10, we have a movie that unfortunately is not higher on my list because there's some flaws that I have about it, and this is a thing that I've really noticed with the blockbuster movies nowadays, that I have a lot of stuff that I enjoy about them, but I honestly have more stuff that I nitpick about when it comes to the blockbuster movies because they try and cram so much into it. One of the only blockbusters I have, and that is Spider-Man Homecoming. My favorite superhero growing up was Spider-Man, so coming into this movie I was really excited. Tom Holland's new Spider-Man after Civil War, I really loved what he did in his minimal screen time, and I really was looking forward to this, and I enjoyed it so much. I love Homecoming, but there are some things that I didn't like. There was a little twist at the end of a name that I was like, I didn't, it wasn't earned. So top 10, not bad. Number 10, not bad. Alrighty, at number 9, this is probably my least favorite trailer going into a movie, because when I saw this trailer, I was like, I don't see, what the hype's for, and the hype for this movie was real. Horror movie, a remake off a Stephen King novel, and I'm talking about It. That is a surprise because me personally, I'm not a horror fan, but I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of laughs. I was definitely creeped out at the time. I was tense. I was really invested in these characters. These kids did a great job. Pennywise was great. Probably my only real nitpick with this movie is the way that Pennywise did that little running thing, but it would only happen twice in the movie, so it's not that big of a deal. Finn Wolfhard after Stranger Things, he's doing a great job. He's doing, I'm hoping he doesn't get typecast in this type of role from now on, but when you're a kid, I don't expect you to have much range, so congrats that you got two big things under your belt. And Jaden Lieberher, he did really good with the stutter. It didn't seem disrespectful. It seemed natural. It wasn't weird. It wasn't over the top. And speaking of over top, there was a lot of swearing in this movie from these kids, but it worked for me. It felt like how I would talk to my buddies when I'm 10, 12, 11, however they old, no older than 13. I think they're in like 5th grade. So I think it really worked for me, and the chemistry between all the kids was great. The way that they handled the girl situation, because if you read the book, that they can get pretty weird towards the end, and it didn't get that far, so I was pretty impressed, and I was thoroughly surprised. It, number 9. Number 8, we have a movie that also surprised me, not only because going into it, I wasn't expecting much. This director hadn't had a really good track record leading up to this movie with a gap, movies. And I'm talking about M. Night Shyamalan's Split. I really like Anya Taylor-Joy and the two supporting girls. Haley Richardson, I think that was her name. And then I don't know the other girl. Sorry. I don't know the therapist's name, but James McAvoy, he was really great. He encompassed all these characters. You believe that he was these different personalities, and it didn't seem disrespectful to a person with multiple personalities, or at least not in my opinion. I don't know, but it didn't seem like it was over the top, and it was trying to, do too much. It wasn't trying to jam it in your face. It worked for me. And then the story-wise, it built up. There was tidbits all throughout. So the more I watch it, the more I enjoy, the little teases and the hints that it points out. And, the ending, it's just... That's what I'm talking about. So Split, surprisingly for me, number 8. At number 7, we have a movie that I truly thought was probably going to jump into my top 5 movies of all time because of the trailers for this was amazing, the source material building up, how much I loved the movie right before this, how much I love this franchise. It kills me to say, but Star Wars The Last Jedi is only at number 7. It is a 2.5-hour movie, and that's fine. It doesn't feel like 2.5 hours. It doesn't drag, but there's a few scenes that I'm like, I don't know, man. Just like with movies like Batman vs Superman, it's like I like the ultimate cut. I like 3 hours, but there's scenes in there where it's like it doesn't have to be this long. Same thing with The Last Jedi. You have the Canto Bight scene with the casino, and you have the relationship between Finn and Rose, and you just have all these things. You're like, it doesn't necessarily have to be there. And if you take it out, it doesn't really screw up the whole story. But you have Daisy Ridley as Rey. You have Oscar Isaac as Poe, actually been able to do stuff this time. You have Carrie Fisher, unfortunately, is her last performance as Princess Leia, or General Leia now, and she does a really good job. She has a lot to do. You finally get to see Luke, because you saw the trailers. You knew he's actually going to be in it this time, so that was really nice to see. And Chewie got some love. The Porgs weren't that bad. it was funny, but it wasn't. I don't get the hate for the, it's overly funny and it doesn't seem right. Perfect mesh of comedy, drama, tenseness. It worked for me. There's just a little bit that just kept it a little lower. Going into number 6, we have a movie about a movie, and this movie itself is hilarious. The movie it's about is hilarious, but not intentionally. And I'm talking about The Disaster Artist. James Franco playing Tommy Wiseau. He does a really good job. Well, Tommy Wiseau / Johnny, if you know what I'm talking about. So he plays both. He does a really good job. Dave Franco as Greg Sestero really impressed me. James Franco's voice, and he was like, "Oh, this is my accent. Oh, hi, Mark." And then Dave Franco was like, "Well, my accent's just my own voice. That's how I talk like Greg." And it's just or like Mark, and that's just funny, or Greg and Mark, I guess technically. And it's just funny because it's like he didn't go all out for this character, but he felt, he didn't seem like Dave Franco, and the chemistry between the two, obviously because they're brothers, it really worked. It was a lot of fun. It was really funny. It wasn't disrespectful. It had some heart to it. It made you understand why Tommy Wiseau potentially thought the way he thought, and why he was willing to take the risk, and why Greg was willing to follow side by side with him. And unfortunately, the events that happened in real life didn't go quite their ways, but if everything that I've heard is correct, they're still friends, or at least associates, so that's nice that they're able to be civil. And The Disaster Artist, it was a lot of fun, really funny. You don't have to actually have seen The Room to enjoy The Disaster Artist, but definitely if you've seen The Room and you love The Room, a lot of the jokes will be even more funny. So either or, it works, and gonna get some Oscar buzz. I'm not gonna be surprised. Number 5, we have one of my favorite directors of all time. He came out killing it. He came back to his roots, doing monsters, doing dark, doing gritty. I'm talking about Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. It is a love story. It is beautiful. You actually believe that this woman is going to fall in love with this creature, and it worked. Minimal dialogue throughout. You got Michael Shannon playing the bad guy, but technically he's not really playing a bad guy if you really think about it. He's playing in the 50s and 60s. You can tell that this type of guy would be like this. He would be on his heels with a creature like this, because whether it's for government purposes, whether it's for safety issues of himself, whether it's used as a weapon, protecting your country, however, you would understand where he's coming from. So that's why I think that this story had more weight to it, because you would understand why Michael Shannon acted the way he did. You understood why Sally Hawkins fell in love with this creature, and it all made sense. Richard Jenkins' character was a great support. You had Octavia Spencer. Honestly, my favorite was Sally Hawkins. She said so much with her hands and her emotions, and I truly believe she should be nominated for Best Actress, and I truly believe she has a chance to win because she was that good. Shape of Water, so much fun, beautiful. I loved it. Number 4, we have a movie that I was totally surprised about, because when you hear this title, it doesn't really sound interesting. It sounds kind of dark and weird and depressing, and the main character was on a Screen Junkies movie fights, and you were promoted. I was like, oh, that's just a cheap little plug. They're probably just trying to give him some love just because he came on a show. But when I finally saw this movie, The Big Sick, I loved it. It is hilarious. You have Kumail Nanjiani, you have Zoe Kazan, you have Ray Romano and Holly Hunter playing the parents, and they did a fantastic job. They were hilarious. They brought heart to it. Their characters were developed enough to where you understood why they felt the way they felt, why they acted the way they acted. You understood why Kumail was how he was. It's a modern day Muslim, and he didn't necessarily believe everything that his parents wanted to believe, but he loved his family, so he stuck with it. He played the role. He did what he had to do. It was maybe a little over top, but I think it was part of like a satirical sense of why his parents did the things that they did, how they talk and all that stuff. And it worked for me because it doesn't seem disrespectful. Satire is not disrespect, and it was a lot of fun. The fact that you can have a 9/11 joke in a movie and it works and it's hilarious. Big Sick, it's endlessly rewatchable. It's just under 2 hours, and it flies by. It has heart. It's got comedy. It's it's got some tense moments because you have this relationship and the scenes. Like, it's called The Big Sick for a reason. So you're going to have some moments where I don't know what's going to happen, and it really gets you invested in it, and it really does a good job. All right, coming into my top 3, we have one of my favorite up-and-coming directors. He's only had 2 movies previous, but I love them both, and that is Martin McDonagh's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This movie is dark, it is funny, and luckily for me, I'm a fan of Martin McDonagh's humor, so it really works for me and how they go about the things that these characters say. You understand, I'm from a small town in Northwest Indiana, and you understand people would say things like this, and people wouldn't overreact when they hear these type of words and these phrases, and it's okay, and it's just a lot of fun. You have Frances McDormand killing it as this character, as this main character, this struggling mom, grieving and being angry and outbursting and maybe overreacting, but trying to get her point across. And you understand why. You have a small police force led by Woody Harrelson's character and Sam Rockwell, and you understand why they do the things they do, why they act the way they act. You know, it's a small town, and then you have a lot of jokes about priests, about cops, the way they handle situations, and it makes sense why they talk about it. And it's, you know, you're bringing up social issues without hammering it over the head, and you're kind of making jokes about it because you're trying to get the point out there that these concepts are pretty stupid. So let's make some jokes about it. Let's laugh. And you have the chemistry with Frances McDormand, Sam Rockwell, and Woody Harrelson, the circle of them three, and how they communicate with each other. Frances and Woody, Frances and Sam, Woody and Sam, and just how they talk to each other. And you can tell that it's a small town and they don't really like each other, but at the end of the day, if something goes bad, they got each other's back because they have that heart and they have that small town vibe, and you truly believe it. And it has a bunch of different tones, and they mesh well, really good together. Martin McDonagh did a great job, and 3 Billboards Outside of Missouri, number 3. All right, so coming into number 2, we have my most controversial movie on this list, a movie that personally I would have not expected me to like at all, let alone love. People don't get it, and if they get it, they think it's pretentious. And I'm talking about Darren Aronofsky's Mother. Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem as Mother and him. It works so much for me. I finally watched it for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Holy cow. You have Ed Harris's character coming in, the mystery surrounding him. You have Michelle Pfeiffer's character, the mystery surrounding her. You have Donald Gleason, as always, coming in out of nowhere, playing a good little character, a small little role, but you're curious on what's going on with him. And then you just have madness. And you saw in the trailers, it's just madness. You're like, what is going on? And if you really pay attention, read between the lines, it's not that mysterious. It's not trying to hide anything, I don't think. It was pretty obvious. Or maybe I got lucky that I heard some theories about what the movie meant, and then so when I finally watched it, I was able to grasp and catch on and understand it immediately. So it worked for me. And like I said, I haven't stopped thinking about this movie. It was funny at times. It was creepy at times. You had Jennifer Lawrence character like, this is my house. Like, what are you doing? And that's how you would react in a situation like this. Like, she's not being a terrible person. She's not being a bad hostess. That's just a natural reaction for how these people are acting inside her house, and how her husband, a famous poet in a sense, who's struggling at the time, how their relationship between each other, their relationship with Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer's character when they come to the house, you're just like, it all makes sense why everyone's acting the way they are. It has some mystery, but once it all comes full circle and you're like, wow, that was beautiful, and it was shot beautifully. And then Jennifer Lawrence is beautiful. Javier Bardem, he's a beautiful old man. It just really works for me. Mother, it's like I said, I haven't stopped thinking about this movie, and that's a real big part of why that this is so high on my list. And the only reason it's not number 2 is because it's only number 2 is just because it's not going to be as rewatchable. I may think about it constantly, but I'm not going to rewatch it necessarily. So Mother, number 2. So real quick, I want to touch on some honorable mentions because, like I said, 2017 was a huge year for me. I loved it so much, and there's a lot of movies that I'm not going to go in depth with, but I want to at least talk about them and touch on them a tad. And if you're interested in my thoughts on any of these movies, just comment below and ask me to do a review, and I will post a review immediately and let you know my full thoughts on these movies. I'm just trying to touch on them real quickly. So I'm just going to yell my top 25. I'm just going to, bam, get it. So at 25, we have Stronger. At 24, we have Wonder. At 23, we have John Wick Chapter 2. At 22, we have a surprise that I think I only liked it because it was so weird and just I didn't expect this, but Ingrid Goes West. At 21, we have Gifted. For a while, this was in my top 10, and it just kind of went down when I saw more movies. At 20, this is going to be a big surprise for everybody because it's so low and it's not even in my top 10. But Get Out, especially because I had it split in my top 10, Get Out is just a little lower. I think I get everything in the movie. I truly do, but it just doesn't work for me, especially not compared to those two. At number 19, I have the Lego Batman movie. I love this movie. It was so much fun, and it's just hilarious. At number 18, we have Wind River. At number 17, Raw. French movie. It was beautiful. Man, you just get invested in these characters. It was funny at times, and it's really creepy and weird, but Raw, I dug it. At number 16, we have It Comes at Night. The first time I watched it, I was kind of like, what's going on? But then I watched it again. I read up on some stuff. I paid attention more on my second view, and I was like, I really dig this movie. It Comes at Night. It worked for me. At number 15, this is my biggest surprise that it's not number 1, let alone not in my top 10, but there's just some things about this movie that it just doesn't work for me, and it kind of takes into my rewatchability, and that is Logan. I don't want to get into details. This would be a one where if you ask, I'll do a review. But yeah, Logan, unfortunately, not even in my top 10 and only at number 15. Number 14, one of my favorite directors of all time, Dunkirk from Christopher Nolan. Number 13, we have a sequel from a movie that every time I watch it, I like it even more, and that's Blade Runner 2049. I think it's just a little too long. It's a little too slow at times, but it's beautiful. It's acted great, and it really works for me. It's just, I think I like the original more. And number 12, this is a movie that's surprised that it's also not in my top 10. It was probably my favorite trailer going into this year, or at least throughout the year that I've seen, and that's War for the Planet of the Apes. I think if it had a little more action and a little more teaser in Woody Harrelson's character, it definitely would have been up there. I think it just lacked that part, or at least for me, it wasn't as good as I thought it could have been. So War for the Planet of the Apes only at number 12. And at number 11, a movie that for a while was in my number 1, and it just started slipping when I started seeing all these new movies and rewatching some of these smaller movies. Baby Driver. I love Edgar Wright. This movie was fun. It's quick. It's witty. Ansel Elgort kills it in that lead role. You got Jamie Foxx and John Hamm playing good, creepy, bad, tough guys. You got John Bernthal doing his thing. You know, as you see, I love The Punisher. John Bernthal, it's never a bad thing. You got Kevin Spacey. You know, you got all the controversy around him, but he's not in the movie enough to where it affects the movie as a whole, so you can judge it. And he's not the star, so it doesn't bother me. But if, you know, being realistic, his performance is good and he works in the movie, so, you know, whatever. So that is the honorable mentions. Like I said, I love this year a lot, and those are some ones that just missed it. So it is time for my number 1 movie of 2017, and this is a movie that is only 90 minutes long. It is endlessly rewatchable. It is funny. It is quick. It's got some good music. It's got the way that it does the shooting, similar to Baby Driver. It does it perfectly here. It is a director that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of because he does some really weird movies, but this movie was executively produced by Martin Scorsese, so he might have had some influence in that. My favorite movie of 2017 is Free Fire. You got Brie Larson, Armie Hammer, Charlton Copley. You got Jack Rayner. Overall, I love this movie. This movie is funny. It's like I said, it's back and forth. It's witty. You got all these characters acting like assholes, and it makes sense why they're doing it. You understand why the shooting starts because it's on edge. It's tense. You don't trust anybody. The nice camera angles. I actually watched special features of this and the making of it and how they did some scenes, and they did the rotating to get some different angles from all the characters. You have some charm from Charlton Copley and Armie Hammer and how they're trying to seduce and get with Brie Larson's character. You have her, why she's in the middle. It makes sense why everyone's there and why everyone acts the way they do. At the end of the day, they just want the money and the fact that they're constantly like, you got Charlton Copley, hey, go get the case, love. You're a bird. They're not going to shoot you. And then he shoots, and you see her get all pissed because she's a badass. She's not a damsel in distress. She's going to be there. And then she's trying to tiptoe the line, though, because she's kind of on both sides. Plus, she doesn't want anyone to mess with her, so she's trying to play it carefully. Everyone's got some charm. It's hilarious. It's a lot of fun, and it's great action. And I don't understand why people don't like this movie, let alone love it as much as I do. But Free Fire is my number 1 favorite movie of 2017. That is my personal list. Let me know, movies like Free Fire, Mother, Split, a lot of movies that people don't like as much. Let me know down below why you think that those movies shouldn't be on this list. Movies that you think should be higher up. Movies like Lady Bird that I didn't talk about. Thor Ragnarok, Coco. Movies like that I did not talk about. Let me know where they are on your list. Let me know your actual top 10 of the year. Let me know what movies was the most disappointing for you. What movie was the most surprising for you. Let me know down in the comments, and let's have some conversations about this. And as you all know, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel, my other YouTube channel, the Worldwide Movie Games Network, where we have transferred the trivia over to there, and that is a lot more fun. And now this is going to be more personal, myself and my friends coming on doing more list-based videos and stuff like that, and the top 25 objective list coming out real soon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And 2017 worked for me. 2018, let's see what you got.